Hey everybody, welcome to the show. If you were listening earlier, I apologize for what I'm about to repeat and that it happened that way. I don't know what's going on with the entire net today, but it is having trouble. So, I was talking a little bit about my wife's. She helped us out today. We were serving tacos at a school today. We were doing a catering event. It was new to us. I was kind of stressed out about it, but everything worked out pretty good, and my wife helped. And the only downfall about it was the fact that I didn't realize that she's going to wear her visor. And, you know, people are allowed to wear whatever they want. Which is smart. I mean, we live in a country where people can do whatever they want, pretty much. If it doesn't hurt anybody else, I think is the rule. Yet, we got to put some sort of limitations on headgear for people that we are wanting to be attracted to. I myself, I want to be attracted to my wife more than anything. And I am most of the times, but when she straps on that Bob Stoops visor, it is tough for me to be like that. So I'm hoping that it goes away, and if it doesn't, I'll just have to make it go away. So anyways, I already talked about, and I know that a real professional would probably either redo what I've already done. I cannot do that. Even if nobody heard it, I've already said the things that I've said. And so I don't like to redo it. And so I'll just go a completely different direction with this show. And I won't start it the way that I started it. And we'll go that way. So the reason Shannon is not with me today and we didn't do an OK Taco show is because I forgot the board here at home. And so we did a lunchtime event. It worked out great. Thank you guys so much for coming out, if you did, and thank you to the teachers that asked us to be there. And it's nice to be part of the community and let these people know that, like, we're here if you guys need anything, and everybody's happy, so that was good. But on show notes, on show thoughts, I was irritated because I was trying to connect and I want to do this live on Podbean, and I want to be live via the video with YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. So if you like what we're doing, I really enjoy doing it, so I've been itching to do it all day. Even with or without Shannon, doesn't matter. I've just been looking forward to coming out here and spending some time with you. And I got to go cook dinner very soon, so this may be a short broadcast, but I'm excited to be here, and I have a lot of things I want to tell you. First of which is, I don't know about you. I don't know how long you've been married. I don't know, a lot of people get married the first time. A lot of people get married and think that that's the only time they're ever going to get married. But come to find out, ding dong, you're going to get a divorce, dude. And if you are sitting next to somebody right now as you listen to this, one of you will be divorced, according to statistics. One of you will get a divorce. It's 50% is what I'm saying. So 1 out of 2 will get a divorce. And that makes love hard sometimes, to know that that's an option. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, in a way, it's similar to what's going on with the Supreme Court in their recent decisions, where they're wanting to, like, kind of look into whether or not the federal government should be involved in abortion or something. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're shaking that fucking kaleidoscope up. I thought we kind of had a judgment on that a long time ago. And for the most part, it's fine. And I think people will vote based on whether or not a candidate is supportive of that decision or not. But I didn't think that we get to a position in our country where we have to revisit decisions that were made as law and kind of change them. But I guess that's where we're at. But, you know, divorce is basically an abortion of a marriage, dude. Like, you are committed to a person for the entirety of your life once you make that commitment. And yet there's this weird clause in there that's like, oh, but if you don't like them, or they snore too loud in bed, or they, you know, are pieces, they could just be pieces of shit that you didn't know, you didn't know that at the time. During the courtship part of your relationship, you didn't know that this person was a piece of shit. They were different. And so I think that if Roe, you know, if you're going to cancel Roe v. Wade, you have to cancel whatever law was put in place to allow people to get divorced too. Like, if you're going to be strict about stuff, then be strict about it all, buddy. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't care. I didn't care before. I'm not a woman. You know what I mean? I'm a man that has a brain, and I'm not going to go have sex with a number of women, protected or unprotected. I am married. So there's no reason for me to even, I have no way of even being in the conversation. If I was to ever have a relationship with somebody else, I think that without a doubt I don't want to have any babies, so I would do everything on my part to make sure that that person that I was having the relationship didn't get pregnant. You know, and I've done that. I've already, you know, I put a bunch of tissues or something in my vas deferens. I stopped it. I got a vasectomy, is what I'm saying. However that works. So, I don't have an opinion that's valid in any way on abortion, because I'm not a woman, and I don't predict ever having a relationship with anyone other than my wife. And that's what I'm saying, though. All these hardcore pro-lifers, I'm fine with, you know, and I to some degree, I agree with on some of their stuff, but at the same time, fuck off. You know, are you a pro-lifer that got divorced? Then fuck off. You're not married to commitment either then. You know what I mean? You don't have no opinion that I can listen to. So if you're a pro-lifer and you got divorced, and then people be like, well, but I had an abusive, okay, now you're doing the same shit. Abusive relationships and toxic and blah, 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 blah. The point is, you picked a bad person. You made that decision. You picked them, and you thought they'd change or whatever, and they didn't, and you got a divorce with them. And that is an abortion of marriage. And so you are no longer allowed to voice your opinion on what people are supposed to do and the decisions they're supposed to make. You don't get to, because you fucked up your own, because fuck-ups happen. That's part of life, dude. So that's kind of where I stand on that. Now, as a person that's never been aborted, and once I got past that, as a person that did then got married, sure, that's why I do this show, because I can't just go into my house and tell my wife, hey, I really don't like it when you wear that visor, because I don't like women in visors. I didn't know that. I had to buy you the visor first and see you in it to know that, but now I know I don't like it. But that's a little thing. There's no divorcing that's going to come out of that. But I was thinking about relationships and, you know, all the stuff that's going on with the abortion stuff and all. I was thinking about all that recently, I was thinking about my own life and my own marriage, and God, how much I love my kids, and I think a lot of people get caught on that where they're like, I love my kids so much. How could anybody ever be for abortion? It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's the same thing as divorce. Like, I love my wife so much. How could anybody ever divorce their spouse? Well, there's a lot that goes into it. Same thing. It's exactly the same thing. This guy's not the guy that I thought he was when I married him, or this woman is not the woman I thought she was when I married her, or whatever it is. And it got me this thought where, do you guys remember there was an athlete that played football for Notre Dame? His name was Manti Te'o or something. He was from Hawaii. He was born and raised, I think, in Hawaii, which is paradise. And then went and played at Notre Dame, and there's this famous story about him that he had this relationship with this woman via cellular phone, and they would talk all the time, and they would chat, and they would do like videos and stuff, but he thought it was somebody, and it actually was a man, is the whole spoiler alert of that. It was a man that he was talking to, and they called that term catfishing. And I think that marriage sometimes is like catfishing in that sense, where there's this person that is presenting themselves to you in a way that you think is like, oh, I really love this person. I love everything about it. And then once you get married, all that shit stops sometimes. Sometimes, not every time, but a lot of that stuff stops. And it can be for a number of reasons. You know what I mean? Like, you guys could have met in college, and both of you are in shape in college because you're young and you're fit and you don't have to exercise all the time to keep that or whatever it is. And so you present yourself like, oh, do you want me? Do you want this? And somebody does, and they buy you or whatever, they commit to you, and then you put on 250 pounds, and it's like, that's not what I married. You just catfish me. Is this what you want to be? Then you have those conversations. Is this what you want to be? Like, moving forward, do you want to be this? Are you not going to do anything to change it or try to get back or fix it or whatever? And they'll be like, fuck you. Why change your shit? And then you get, that is toxic, and you're like, well, fuck this. And you leave. But I think that the harder, and it goes both, it doesn't even have to be physical. You could get married and I do that. I'm bad at that. I'm a lot more open and a lot more outgoing with stuff that I feel like somebody should already know how I feel about it, but I will, when my wife and I were dating, she's trying to get to know me. So of course I put the best version of me out front, and then, but now that we've been married for 15 years, she gets what's in my mind. You know what I mean? She gets the real me on everything, which means she doesn't get a lot of what she signed up for. Because when she signed that dotted line on that marriage certificate, she was like, oh, this guy will talk to me all night, he'll do all this stuff. That's not the case. Because once we're married, it's like, I've told you everything. Now we're experiencing things together, and and you know how I am, and I know how you are, and you know what I'll react, so I don't put all that stuff out there. So in a way, she got catfished because I stopped doing some of the things that, even though they're not required, I know that she appreciates. And so she got catfished in a way. And so I work on that, or at least I'm conscious of the fact that I could be better in a few different ways, for sure, with her. And I'm working on it. But marriage is basically just a long-term catfish. You know what I mean? It's just, you bait them in, you give them this version of you, and then you change. You go to your real self. And a lot of times my real self is, it's not like this at all. I enjoy, sitting with my thoughts, I guess. I like to sit there and think, and sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's good. But I like to sit there and think, and I don't like to talk about it. But when I was dating, you say, oh, here's what I'm thinking about. And by the way, it's a lot of what you guys get on the show, but she would get a show for herself, basically. And I think a lot of relationships are like that. But marriage is a long-term catfish, and if you get a divorce, it's an abortion of marriage. And so, to tie all that together, I just would say, if you are one of these people, which I understand both sides, but I can't speak for either side because I'm not a woman. And I have my own opinions on it. And if a woman ever asked me what I thought about it, I would tell them what I think, but I'm staying out of it, dude. But on marriage, I don't think I have to. I think that's a teamwork thing. And if you give up on marriage, I will say that you no longer get to have an opinion on other things that are like that, which is, sometimes people like to have opinions. That's for sure. So, anyways, I don't think that it's brave. I don't think that bravery gets used in the right way anymore. Like, sometimes people will be like, oh, did you paint that? That's very brave. And it's like, no, it's not. We do that a lot. I think we just ran out of words or something. I was thinking, though, I heard a joke, or I heard a stand-up or something. They were talking about glory holes and how brave you have to be to do a glory hole, or courageous, maybe is the word that person used. And I wish I could credit the person that said it, but I don't know, dude. After hearing that, I was wondering, what's braver? Is it braver to join the military, or is it braver to do a glory hole? And I don't think that a glory hole necessarily has to be a homosexual thing. You know what I mean? I think that sometimes glory holes, from the videos that I've seen, it's a person of the opposite sex that's on the other side of it. But you're very brave if you're on the other side of it and you're waiting for something to go through the hole. You're assuming that it's going to be like a dude's wiener, is what you probably assume. But if you're a dude and you put your wiener through a hole, that's brave. Because you don't know what's on the other side. Does it matter? That's up to you, but that's your level of bravery, dude. And I think that if I was, because today we were serving, this is a bad segue, but I'll use it. Today we were serving a high school in Oklahoma. And the Army or the Marines, or maybe both of them, were there. They wanted to recruit high school seniors on their fun day to come, join the military. And that's what made me write this down. It's like, if you're 18 years old, fuck, that's a lot of bravery for you to sign up, even if it's just a couple years. But just to make that commitment to something, the unknown. And you did that. You signed your name and you're like, okay, I'm going to go fight for our country, or I'm going to go use this as a way to get my education, or whatever reason you signed that, it's still a lot of bravery because it is a commitment. And whatever those recruiters were telling you is not anything like what it's going to be for you, because you have to go live it. And I think that maybe it's would be better for our military, the United States military, if they were recruiting people at a glory hole situation, is what I'm saying. Because those are the bravest people we have in this country. On both sides of that wall. Okay? There's a hole in that wall, and that hole is meant for a wiener. That's it. And it doesn't matter what color that wiener is that comes through there. There's no racism. There's no nothing. There's no backstory. There's no nothing. It's a glory hole, and you stuck your wiener through there. You are brave. And if you're on the other side of that glory hole, you didn't know what was going to come through that hole, and you too are brave. So if I was the United States recruitment office for the military, I would talk to my recruiters and I would say to them, why aren't we finding more brothels or bathhouse? I don't know where glory holes are. Why aren't we finding these Jiffy Lubes or these things, wherever these things happen, and putting recruiters in the stalls? Not necessarily as the giver or the recipient of a glory hole, but put these men who are trying to recruit the bravest people in our country to go fight for our country, put them in a place where brave people are actually doing brave things. There's nothing brave about, going to a spring day at a high school, which is what happened today. That's not brave. Why are you here? Unless you're at a glory hole, you shouldn't be here. And there was no glory holes today, as far as I know, and they were still there. I think that would be a very clever way of finding some of the most amazingly equipped soldiers that can go out there and do whatever it is they have to do to make this country the country that we all want it to be on a worldwide stage. So I just wrote that down. I think it's really important that the best and the brightest, the bravest that we have, we got to pull. You can't just be like, this is the best catfish you've ever had. Well, where'd you get it? Oh, I got it at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, no, then it's not the best catfish you've ever had, is what I'm saying. You have to, in order to pick the bravest people, you have to go to a place where people are being the most brave. That's a fucking glory hole, is what I'm saying. That's bravery. So, if you're watching, I know you're listening, but if you're watching the United States military, you should consider that for your recruitment. And if you guys like me are watching this or listening to this, thinking about it, it'd be like, holy shit, you're right, because I would never do that. I would never put my wiener through a glory hole, and the only way I put my wiener through a glory hole is if I knew that my wife was on the other side of it. And then we'd have this whole conversation about, like, why are we doing this? And it would be silly. I mean, it'd be kind of fun, but it'd be silly. And it'd have to be like the world's thinnest door. You know what I mean? You can't just you're going to put your wiener through a 3/4 inch drywall? Guess what? You're losing 3/4 of a 5-inch wiener. That means you have 4 inches of wiener left. That's not a lot of wiener. That's if you're all the way up there. So, that's a brave thing to do, dude. You gotta be pretty confident. But things are, I don't know, things are bad. I hear about it a lot. I don't know anything about it, but I got a text message from the Weather Channel today that told me that there's like a 50-50 chance that within the next 5 years, global warming will be at a point where there's nothing we can do about it, is what the Weather Channel texted me that. It's like, hey, Conrad, I know that it's 1:30 where you're at and you're enjoying your day, but let me try to be a piece of shit and remind you that you're going to die in 5 years because of global warming. That Things are bad, dude. Gas prices are high. Fucking food is high. I told Shannon today, I was like, dude, I spent $200. I barely got anything at Walmart for the truck today. And so things are bad. I was watching, I think it was not Netflix or Hulu, but it was like one of the other ones, Paramount or Speedo TV or something, and it was a very candid interview with Joseph Biden, our president, and a reporter was in the crowd. Usually you see these White House press conferences and it's the same questions and non-answers every time. But I got to give credit to Joe Biden on this one, where there was a reporter that was badgering him on gas prices, and then once he tried to answer that question, and he was doing the normal spin that politicians do, the guy did like a full court press on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the war that's going on, and Joe just looked at this guy, and they aired it on Speedo TV. They aired it right there, and Joe looked at this guy and said, "Shitter's full, bud. The shitter is full." Okay? And he was talking about the country. This is a funny thing. You know, you want me to sit up here as the president of the United States and have to listen to a Supreme Court note that says that maybe they're going to cancel the abortion law, and you're going to want me to look at gas prices, and you want me to look at home prices, and you want me to look at all this bullshit. God damn, the shitter is full. You want me to answer the question on Ukraine and Russia? Shitter is full, bud. This country's got its own shit going on, and the shitter is full. We just keep sending them money, but the shitter is full, buddy, like Clark's brother said. So anyways, I thought that was a good moment. I don't vote because I think that all the candidates that we've had since I've been allowed to vote, since I was 18 years old, are all functionally retarded. And I'm trying to use the most political correct way of saying that. I think that George W. Bush was functionally retarded. I think that Barack Obama was functionally retarded. I think that Donald Trump was functionally retarded. And I think that Joseph Biden is also. And I think they're bought and paid for by whoever else is pulling the strings. So I don't vote, but when candidates do come out and say stuff like the shitter is full, I will support that. I do like that. That is a guy I could have a beer with, if that's why we're voting. So anyways, to try to get it back on a funner note, if I can, I had this thought the other day. I had a couple news stories I was going to give to you guys, but I just don't have the time, and I'm sorry about that. I've always been intrigued by, and maybe it's because I really enjoy doing this, and I like I got into this because I was blue collar worker. I was working outside. I had my thoughts to myself, and then at some point there was a way to listen to somebody else's thoughts while I worked. And so I really enjoyed doing this because I was like, because I loved listening to people talk to me so much as I was, you know, whether it be mowing or weed eating or whatever it is I'm doing. It was always a physical job and monotonous maybe. And so to have earbuds in and have somebody else's thoughts come into my head and then let me ruminate on them and then spit out my version of those to you guys was always something that it intrigued me. And so because of that, I've always thought about deaf people because they don't get to listen to this. You know what I mean? They can read a transcript of it if I provide that. They can, you know, watch the video and maybe read lips if I am positioning my face in a way that they can understand what I'm saying. But I've always been like, man, there's a tremendous amount of deaf people out there, and I don't get to be the podcast for them. That, like, they don't have a favorite podcast because they can't hear it. And then I try to console myself by being like, well, but it's fine, you know. Would it be worse to be blind or deaf? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that a blind guy would say, well, I'd rather be blind. I'd hate to be deaf. And I'm sure a deaf guy would be like, I'd rather be, you know, deaf. I'd hate to be blind, because you learn to adapt to it. But as a person that hasn't been yet smited by God and had one of those senses taken away from me, I got to look at both of them and be like, dog, it sucks to be both of you, because looking at stuff is awesome and hearing stuff is even better, you know, or equally as good. So, but I was thinking about deaf people the other day and how they couldn't listen to my show, and one of the things I come up with or thought about is deaf people. I had a really, I wouldn't say a close friend. I had a pretty good friend that was deaf in high school, and you know, we're still friends on Facebook, so I know it's real. But he could read lips. One thing I never asked him, and I wish that I would have, is, can deaf people read other deaf people's lips? You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that deaf people I'm sure that deaf people don't want to be single for their whole life. They want to find love. And sometimes, like, if you're white or if you're black, like, a white person might, for the majority, they might find another white person to marry. And every once in a while, there'll be somebody that's like, hey, listen, I'd rather marry a hot Latina. And they go marry a hot Latina. You know, and maybe black people are like, I'd rather find another black person to marry. And then every once in a while, there's like a skinny black guy that's like, I really want to marry a overweight white girl. That happens too. You know, and so people have their different tastes. And a lot of that's based on diversity, like it's based on race in a way where it's predictable. Like, oh, of course you like that. Of course you like that. But do deaf people like other deaf people, is what I'm saying. Because that would be the shits. Not only do you have you get 5 senses at birth, and you got one taken away from you. The ability to fucking hear. You got that taken away from you. But are you attracted now because you don't have that to other deaf people? I don't know. I don't know what that is. You know, I don't. But if you were attracted to just the deaf, and people might be like, oh, get over yourself, deaf person, like, grow up. It's 2020. You're allowed to date people that can hear just fine. You know, and they might be like, no, but I want to stay with my own people, you know, those that can't hear. But what would suck is that you can't read lips on a deaf person if the deaf person doesn't talk the same way that you learn to read lips off people that can hear just fine. So yeah, you can do sign language. There's ways to communicate, but I don't know. It's just weird to think that there's people out there that are looking for love, and they're looking in a very small pool for love. I want a beautiful, sexy, like 120-pound, big-chested, great-ass deaf woman. White deaf woman. Like, people will just have this. It's like, dog, there's 3. You know what I mean? Like, if you... Sometimes you'll get on Amazon and you'll put something like storage ideas. And there's 100,000 pages of storage ideas. But if you put beautiful Caucasian 120-pound, big-breasted, small waist, large ass, deaf woman into Amazon, you will not get a lot of results. It'll be a very limited amount of results is what you're going to find. It'll be like none. And the reason that you put that is because you're so stuck in your own stuff that you wanted a deaf girl. But then say you find it. Say that you do find that person. You order it on Amazon and they bring it to you. And they say, here's your deaf woman. And she talks to you. But she doesn't know sign language. And she talks to you and you can't read her lips. I think that's the saddest. That'd be a fucking sad movie. That's a sad story. That might be a real life thing for people. You know what I mean? Like if you watch a movie, sometimes you're like, shit, that's a sad movie. And somebody will turn to you and be like, that was a documentary, dude. That was about 9/11. It wasn't a movie. That really happened. And you're like, holy shit. Even sadder is what you'd say. So I hope that, I don't know. I haven't talked to my friend from high school that was hearing impaired in a long time. And I doubt he remembers my voice. But I would like to see if he can read deaf people's lips. So, the only other thing I didn't get to tonight was what's going on with Trisha Yearwood, but I will get to that very soon. So, I'll leave you guys on a cliffhanger. I did not watch Dawson's Creek last night. I will watch it tonight, maybe, or I'll watch something else and I'll bring it to you tomorrow. I enjoy doing these shows. Thank you so much, guys, for subscribing. If you subscribe on iTunes to Conradio or Spotify to Conradio, I appreciate it. If you like us bad enough, maybe you'll follow the OK Taco Company on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, or you'll follow us on Conradio on Facebook or Instagram, and you'll share it with people, and you'll say, listen to this person, they're funny. And maybe you'll also want to be like, I want to listen to more, and you'll subscribe to our Patreon. And I'd appreciate that. It's patreon.com/Conradio. It's $5 a month. You get access to not only these shows that are free and available everywhere, but you get access to bonus shows. So consider doing that, and I will continue to do what I do. So spread the word. I appreciate it, and have an okay day, and don't let your meat loaf.